The Mediterranean Sea is bordered by the continent of Europe in the north, by Asia in the east and by Africa in the south. In the west, the Mediterranean Sea is connected to the Atlantic Ocean via the narrow Strait of Gibraltar. In the extreme northeast, it is connected to the Black Sea via the Dardanelles Strait, the Sea of Marmara, and the Bosporus Strait. The Mediterranean Sea is also connected to the Red Sea via the Suez Canal in the southeast. Some of the significant countries that are located along the Mediterranean Sea are Greece, France, Italy, Spain, Croatia, Algeria, Tunisia, Lebanon, etc. Seas are defined as large water bodies that are partially enclosed by the surrounding land masses. Covering an area of about 2.5 million square kilometers, the Mediterranean Sea is the 10th largest sea in the world, located between southern Europe and northern Africa and accounting for about 0.7% of the global ocean area. The term Mediterranean is derived from the Latin word mediterraneus, where medius means middle/between and terra means land/earth. The sea was named Mare Magnum or Mare Internum by the ancient Romans. The Mediterranean Sea is also often referred to as the Eurafrican Mediterranean Sea by oceanographers due to its location between the continents of Asia and Europe. Mediterranean Sea, an intercontinental sea that stretches from the Atlantic Ocean on the west to Asia on the east and separates Europe from Africa. It has often been called the incubator of Western civilization. This ancient sea between the lands occupies a deep, elongated, and almost landlocked irregular depression lying between latitudes 30 degrees and 46 degrees north and longitudes 5 degrees 50 minutes west and 36 degrees east. Its west-east extent from the Strait of Gibraltar between Spain and Morocco to the shores of the Gulf of Iskenderun on the southwestern coast of Turkey is approximately 2,500 miles, 4,000 kilometers, and its average north-south extent, between Croatia's southernmost shores and Libya, is about 500 miles, 800 kilometers. The Mediterranean Sea, including the Sea of Marmara, occupies an area of approximately 970,000 square miles, 2,510,000 square km. The western extremity of the Mediterranean Sea connects with the Atlantic Ocean by the narrow and shallow channel of the Strait of Gibraltar, which is roughly 8 miles, 13 kilometers, wide at its narrowest point, and the depth of the sill, or submarine ridge separating the Atlantic from the Alboran Sea, is about 1,050 feet, 320 meters. To the northeast the Mediterranean is connected with the Black Sea through the Dardanelles, with a sill depth of 230 feet 70 meters, the Sea of Marmara, and the Strait of the Bosporus, sill depth of about 300 feet 90 meters. To the southeast it is connected with the Red Sea by the Suez Canal. The Mediterranean Sea is a sea connected to the Atlantic Ocean, surrounded by the Mediterranean basin and almost completely enclosed by land, on the east by the Levant in West Asia, on the north by Anatolia in West Asia and southern Europe, on the south by North Africa, and on the west almost by the Morocco, Spain border. The Mediterranean Sea covers an area of about 2,500,000 square kilometers, 970,000 square miles, representing 0.7% of the global ocean surface, but its connection to the Atlantic via the Strait of Gibraltar, the narrow strait that connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea and separates the Iberian Peninsula in Europe from Morocco in Africa, is only 14 kilometers 9 miles wide. Geological evidence indicates that around 5.9 million years ago, the Mediterranean was cut off from the Atlantic and was partly or completely desiccated over a period of some 600,000 years during the Messinian salinity crisis before being refilled by the Zanclean flood about 5.3 million years ago. The sea was an important route for merchants and travelers of ancient times, facilitating trade and cultural exchange between the peoples of the region. The history of the Mediterranean region is crucial to understanding the origins and development of many modern societies. The Roman Empire maintained nautical hegemony over the sea for centuries and is the only state to have ever controlled all of its coast. The Mediterranean Sea has an average depth of 1,500 meters 4,900 feet and the deepest recorded point is 5,109 plus or minus 1 m. 16,762 plus or minus 3 feet, in the Calypso Deep in the Ionian Sea. It lies between latitudes 30 degrees and 46 degrees north and longitudes 6 degrees west and 36 degrees east. Its west-east length, from the Strait of Gibraltar to the Gulf of Iskenderun, on the southeastern coast of Turkey, is about 4,000 kilometers, 2,500 miles. The north-south length varies greatly between different shorelines and whether only straight routes are considered. Also including longitudinal changes, the shortest shipping route between the multinational Gulf of Trieste and the Libyan coastline of the Gulf of Sidra is about 1,900 kilometers, 1,200 miles. The water temperatures are mild in winter and warm in summer and give name to the Mediterranean climate type due to the majority of precipitation falling in the cooler months. Its southern and eastern coastlines are lined with hot deserts not far inland, but the immediate coastline on all sides of the Mediterranean tends to have strong maritime moderation. The countries surrounding the Mediterranean and its marginal seas in clockwise order are Spain, France, Monaco, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Albania, Greece, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, Gaza Strip, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria and Morocco. Cyprus and Malta are island countries in the sea. In addition, northern Cyprus, de facto state, and two overseas territories of the United Kingdom, Akrotiri and Dhekelia, and Gibraltar, also have coastlines along the Mediterranean Sea. The drainage basin encompasses a large number of other countries, the Nile being the longest river ending in the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea encompasses a vast number of islands, some of them of volcanic origin. The two largest islands, in both area and population, are Sicily and Sardinia. The Mediterranean Sea connects to the Atlantic Ocean by the Strait of Gibraltar, known in Homer's writings as the Pillars of Hercules, in the west. To the Sea of Marmara and the Black Sea, by the Straits of the Dardanelles and the Bosporus respectively, in the east. The 163 kilometers 101 miles long artificial Suez Canal in the southeast connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea without ship lock, because the water level is essentially the same. The westernmost point of the Mediterranean is located at the transition from the Alboran Sea to the Strait of Gibraltar. The easternmost point is on the coast of the Gulf of Iskenderun in southeastern Turkey. The northernmost point of the Mediterranean is on the coast of the Gulf of Trieste near Monfalcone in northern Italy, while the southernmost point is on the coast of the Gulf of Sidra near the Libyan town of El Agila. Large islands in the Mediterranean include Cyprus, Crete, Euboea, Rhodes, Lesbos, Chios, Kefalonia, Corfu, Lemnos, Samos, Naxos, and Andros in the eastern Mediterranean. Sicily, Cres, Krk, Brac, Hvar, Pag, Corcula, and Malta in the central Mediterranean. Sardinia, Corsica, and the Balearic Islands, Ibiza, Majorca, and Menorca in the western Mediterranean. The Alpine Arc, which also has a great meteorological impact on the Mediterranean area, touches the Mediterranean in the west in the area around Nice. The typical Mediterranean climate has hot, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. Crops of the region include olives, grapes, oranges, tangerines, carobs, and cork. The International Hydrographic Organization defines the limits of the Mediterranean Sea as follows: 51 stretching from the Strait of Gibraltar in the west to the entrances to the Dardanelles and the Suez Canal in the east. The Mediterranean Sea is bounded by the coasts of Europe, Africa, and Asia and is divided into two deep basins. Western Basin. On the west, a line joining the extremities of Cape Trafalgar, Spain, and Cape Spartel, Africa. On the northeast, the west coast of Italy. In the Strait of Messina, a line joining the north extreme of Cape Paci, 15 degrees 42 minutes east, with Cape Pelora, the east extreme of the island of Sicily. The north coast of Sicily. On the east, a line joining Cape Lilibeo, the western point of Sicily, 37 degrees 47 minutes north, 12 degrees 22 minutes east, through the Adventure Bank to Cape Bone, Tunisia. Eastern Basin. On the west, the northeastern and eastern limits of the Western Basin. On the northeast, a line joining Cumcale, 26 degrees 11 minutes east, and Cape Helles, the western entrance to the Dardanelles. On the southeast, the entrance to the Suez Canal. On the east, the coasts of Lebanon, Syria, Israel, and Palestine, through the Gaza Strip. The following countries have a coastline on the Mediterranean Sea. Northern shore, from west to east: Spain, France, Monaco, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Albania, Greece, Turkey. Eastern shore, from north to south: Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, Egypt. Southern shore, from west to east: Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. Island nations: Malta, Cyprus. Several other territories also border the Mediterranean Sea, from west to east. The British Overseas Territory of Gibraltar. The Spanish autonomous cities of Ceuta and Melilla and nearby islands. The sovereign base areas on Cyprus. The Palestinian Gaza Strip. Major cities, municipalities, with populations larger than 200,000 people, bordering the Mediterranean Sea include Algeria, Algiers, Annaba, Oran. Egypt, Alexandria, Damietta, Port Said. France, Marseille, Toulon, Nice. Greece, Athens, Thessaloniki, Patras, Heraklion. Israel, Ashdod, Haifa, Netanya, Rishon LeZion, Tel Aviv. Italy, Bari, Catania, Genoa, Messina, Naples, Palermo, Rome, Pescara, Taranto, Trieste, Venice. Lebanon, Beirut, Tripoli. Libya, Benghazi, Misrata, Tripoli, Zawiya, Zliten. Malta, Valletta. Morocco, Tetouan, Tangier. Palestine, Gaza City. Spain, Alicante, Almeria, Badalona, Barcelona, Cartagena, Malaga, Palma de Mallorca, Valencia. Syria, Latakia, Tartus. Tunisia, Sfax, Sousse, Tunis. Turkey, Alanya, Antalya, Canacal, Iskenderun, Izmir, Mersin. The Mediterranean Sea encompasses about 10,000 islands and islets, of which about 250 are permanently inhabited. Some of the world's busiest shipping routes are in the Mediterranean Sea. In particular, the maritime Silk Road from Asia and Africa leads through the Suez Canal directly into the Mediterranean Sea to its deep water ports in Valencia, Piraeus, Trieste, Genoa, Marseille, and Barcelona. It is estimated that approximately 220,000 merchant vessels of more than 100 tons cross the Mediterranean Sea each year, about one-third of the world's total merchant shipping. These ships often carry hazardous cargo, which if lost would result in severe damage to the marine environment. The coast of the Mediterranean has been used for tourism since ancient times, as the Roman villa buildings on the Amalfi coast or in Barcala show. From the end of the 19th century, in particular, the beaches became places of longing for many Europeans and travelers. From then on, and especially after World War II, mass tourism to the Mediterranean began with all its advantages and disadvantages. While initially, the journey was by train and later by bus or car, today the plane is increasingly used. Tourism is today one of the most important sources of income for many Mediterranean countries, despite the human-made geopolitical conflicts in the region. The countries have tried to extinguish rising human-made chaotic zones that might affect the region's economies and societies in neighboring coastal countries, and shipping routes. Naval and rescue components in the Mediterranean Sea are considered to be among the best due to the rapid cooperation between various naval fleets. Unlike the vast open oceans, the sea's closed position facilitates effective naval and rescue missions, considered the safest and regardless of any human-made or natural disaster. Tourism is a source of income for small coastal communities, including islands, independent of urban centers. However, tourism has also played a major role in the degradation of the coastal and marine environment. Rapid development has been encouraged by Mediterranean governments to support the large numbers of tourists visiting the region, but this has caused serious disturbance to marine habitats by erosion and pollution in many places along the Mediterranean coasts. Tourism often concentrates in areas of high natural wealth, causing a serious threat to the habitats of endangered species such as sea turtles and monk seals. Reductions in natural wealth may reduce the incentive for tourists to visit. The Mediterranean Sea extends for about 4,000 kilometers, west to east, from the Strait of Gibraltar to the Gulf of Iskenderun on Turkey's southwestern coast. The sea has an average depth of about 1,500 m and a maximum depth of 5,267 m at its deepest point, the Calypso Deep in the Ionian Sea. A large number of rivers drain into the Mediterranean Sea, including the Ebro, Rhone, Po, Nile, Tiber, etc. Several studies have indicated that the Mediterranean Sea waters are more saline compared to the waters of the Atlantic. Nevertheless, there is a continuous movement of water from the Atlantic into the Mediterranean and vice versa through the Strait of Gibraltar. A 316 m deep submarine ridge situated between Sicily and the African coast divides the Mediterranean Sea into eastern and western portions. The western portion of the Mediterranean Sea is further subdivided into three major submarine basins. These are the Alboran Basin, the Algerian Basin, and the Tyrrhenian Basin. The eastern portion of the Mediterranean Sea is subdivided into two principal basins, the Ionian Basin and the Levantine Basin. There are many major subdivisions of the Mediterranean Sea. These include the Aegean Sea, Adriatic Sea, Alboran Sea, Ionian Sea, Tyrrhenian Sea, Ligurian Sea, Balearic Sea, and Strait of Gibraltar. In addition to these, there are some other seas such as the Sea of Sardinia, Sea of Sicily, Libyan Sea, Cilician Sea, and the Levantine Sea. The Aegean Sea is further subdivided into the Sea of Crete, the Thracian Sea, the Myrtoan Sea, and the Icarian Sea. The Mediterranean Sea experiences a typical Mediterranean climate with hot and dry summers and mild and rainy winters. The Mediterranean Sea hosts numerous beautiful islands. Some of the large Mediterranean islands include Corsica, Crete, Cyprus, Chios, Euboea, Lesbos, Majorca, Rhodes, Sicily, and Sardinia. Covering a total area of about 25,711 square kilometers, the island of Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea. The islands of Euboea, Chios, Lesbos, and Rhodes are some of the dozens administered by Greece. The areas surrounding the Mediterranean Sea contain some of the world's famous tourist destinations. Tourism thus accounts for a major source of income for the coastal Mediterranean countries. Major cities like Alexandria, Rome, Venice, Beirut, Athens, Marseille, Tel Aviv, etc. are located along the Mediterranean Sea. The sea and the regions surrounding it are also very economically viable through fishing and agriculture. Thank you for watching this video.